Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. So I'm coming back to you again this week. This is a continuation from last week's episode. Hopefully you caught last week's. If not, we'll link it here in the show notes, where I'm really talking about what I feel like people are being called to, what I feel like I am being called to. And this piece of leadership, this piece of really understanding how we're wired, like, are we cross-wired in some areas that have held us back, and how to flip the switch in your mind to where you have all the energy flowing toward success, toward vision, toward service, toward generosity, toward the things that make a difference in this world. And that's what we're going to be breaking down today. How can we really use this season to train into our thinking a success switch, a way to turn on success permanently in our brain, to no longer be available for the speed bumps or the cross wiring that's been holding us back, almost like taking the reins off, so to speak, and removing anything that's hindering you and releasing you into this next season of success. I believe that God is raising up leaders during this time. I believe God is raising up people who are meant to do big things on big stages to help multitudes and multitudes of people, from the smallest of small groups to the biggest of big stages. Transformation is going to be coming out of this season. I believe it to the core of my being. And I want to call you forth into that. I want to speak into that for you and for me during this time. So I am excited to bring another podcast, just breaking down where my heart and mind is, and where I'm calling my certified neuro coaches to a next level of service in their coaching, where I'm calling my Epic Success VIP neuro coaching students to the next level of their success. And I want that to be there for you too. So that's what we're doing today. I hope it blesses you. Please, of course, as always, I am always in my DMs. Please reach out and let me know how this podcast is impacting you. But here we go. But really want to talk about what's coming up for a lot of my high performers, a lot of my 6 and 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs, and myself as well. I don't know if you have all noticed this, but when things like this happen, which has never happened before, but when it's very uncertain and unsettled, like all the feels come up, right? All of the things that we've been kind of outperforming or pushing down and just moving faster than, we cannot hide from them anymore. And all of those things are kind of bubbling up to the surface. And I definitely are for me. I mean, the story that I've worked through all my life, which got me into my PhD in neuroscience, was all around safety and all around certainty, right? I needed to know why all the time. I needed to feel safe because I had this story that I didn't agree with from childhood, that I was unsafe. And so my reaction to that in my past was, well, I'll just outperform it. I'll be the best at everything that I do, and I will receive love that way, right? That's where I'll get my safety and my certainty. And that shows up for a lot of us as I'll just do more, I'll work harder, I'll be harder, I'll do all those things. Well, when you get faced with stopping, have you been having that conversation around, I feel so unfocused, I feel so like I don't know what to do, because we've been relying on this false energy of doing, and now we're being forced into the being. And now we get to look at these things. So I want to encourage you, and what I'm telling my tribe is, now is the time more than ever. You're never going to have a collective 30-ish days to slow down so that you can speed up, to learn to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur now, to be brave and lean into the stories that have been holding you back, and actually start to question them, start to bring them up to the surface. Our subconscious mind holds 80 to 90% of our daily actions and decisions based on agreements you made when you were maybe 12 or 14 or 18 that served you then. But now here you are. And when you pull those stories out and just even start writing them down, your natural brain will start to argue with those statements because they're not true, right? So you'll naturally start to argue against the lie. And instead of running from it right now, what I'm doing is I am really, really allowing the bandwidth for me to be available for listening to the subconscious, available for writing it down and doing the work around, do I agree with this statement or not? Is it true or not? Is this helping me get to the future that I want to get to? Because really, what you think about, you're going to bring about. Like what you think about, you're going to bring about. And right now, if you're thinking about like the anxiety, the collective anxiety that's going on right now, or the collective panic, right? The collective fear, then you're going to bring about more fear, more anxiety, more panic, all of that. If you lean in and choose the thinking, right? What you think about, you bring about. That's when you get to actually advocate for the future that you want. And I'm telling myself this every single day, as well as everybody in my tribe, like we're in this together. But the reality is our future we're creating right now in our thinking and our thoughts, what we're available for, what we acknowledge, because guys, and again, I'm like, this is my mirror every day. I'm preaching it to my tribe, but I am so in the work right now because my safety story is it's alive and kicking right now. And that is what you acknowledge, you automate. What you consistently acknowledge over and over again, whether it's I will have that 7-figure business, I am an expert, or it's I don't have what it takes, I'm not sure, I'm unsure, I don't know. Whatever you continue to acknowledge repetitively, you're going to automate in your subconscious. That's how your brain works. And so as you acknowledge over and over and over again, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, you're acknowledging more fear into your automated subconscious. So as beautiful souls we get to use that filter of, as you feel the resistance, as you feel the anxiety, don't try to run away from it. Hear it and write it down and ask yourself, is this something that's going to take me to my next level, or is it going to pull me back? Because we are advocating always in our thoughts. Our thoughts create those emotions, and those emotions create the beliefs. And those beliefs get automated, and they run 80 to 90% of our daily action and decisions. So what do you want to acknowledge? Do you want to acknowledge the TV news reporters that get ratings based on how much sensationalism, how much intensity, how much fear they can put into you? Then you will acknowledge and automate more of that. Or please understand, like, I want you to hear me really loud because this is my background. There are two people that don't have a bone of marketing energy in them, and that's scientists and government officials. They don't know how to do it. They don't know to spit. Like, they have no filter. This is just not it. So, leaning in on your local government for information, because they just stand up and report. They don't have any spin. They're not worried about ratings. And that allows you to actually acknowledge what's happening without acknowledging everybody else's thoughts about what's happening. Because the reality is, the thoughts that they have are, if you receive them as your own, you will now automate their thoughts instead of your own. So acknowledge what you really want to automate. And this is the work we do within the academy. It's really what you automate. So what you acknowledge, you automate, but what you automate, you create. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what you've automated in your subconscious as real. So that is a superpower. And this is what the secret that 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs know. They see it before it happens. They are so working from the vision, that the vision in their mind, and I know Allison will talk about this, the vision's already, it's already there. It's already done. And they're just walking to it. So knowing that what you automate, you create, really, I hope, lights a fire that you are going to not ever advocate for something to get automated in your subconscious that you don't agree with. Because as a child or a young adult, we didn't have a choice. It's not your fault that it's there at all, because it just automates. That's your brain's superpower. That's what it does to make life easier. But now as an adult, you actually really can train your brain to transform your business to the next level, even in the middle of this crazy chaos that we're living out right now. Your future is getting created through your thoughts right now. And just leaving you with that, like, what you automate, you create. And be real intentional about creating the automations that you really want to see come to pass. So I really want everybody to like just slow down for a second, because Rachel, everybody that's talked so far, and it will continue, they have primed their brain. They have shown their brain exactly what it is that they want, and they hold space for that, even in the face of feeling different. So the delusion that gets put out there is that when I get this amount of money, when I do this, then I will be. Please hear, you will be it, then your brain will believe it, then you will see it. It is that, and it's be, do, have, but it's more of a no longer advocating and standing in the lie, because your brain is believing what you're repeating. So what I don't love to hear, and I'll see it a lot, there are a lot of Band-Aids. It's not bad things, but they're kind of Band-Aids versus getting to the source, which is in your brain, right? Get to the source. And the reality is, I'm going to go do my positive affirmations, I'm going to go look at my vision board. Those are all good things. Those are all great things. And are you in the in-between times not holding space for the lies, not allowing the lies to stay? Because if you're over here 97% of the time believing that you're not enough, feeling unworthy, continuing, remember, what you acknowledge, you automate. So if 98% of the time you're over here acknowledging and automating, and 2% of the time you're at the vision board and you're like, I am, then 2% is going to shift and the 98% is going to stay. Pretty much everybody is leaning in. I can't help myself. That's why I just can't. I need panelists, because I'll just go. But the reality is, it's not that you're not going to feel it. Thoughts create emotions. Those combine to become a belief, right? You will feel unworthy. You will feel whatever it is that's automated. When you feel it, that's when you don't run away from it. That's when you lean in. That's when you lean in and speak life and speak truth over that. Does it mean immediately you're going to be like, oh, well, now I'm great. Now the rainbows and unicorns are here and everything is fantastic. No, that is the biggest lie. The reality is your brain builds a network one thought at a time. Keep layering those thoughts like bricks. Just keep layering them. You do that and continue to do that and continue to do that. My clients go from this feels uncomfortable to this feels, is anything really happening, to, oh my gosh, I don't believe I ever believed that. And it's a compound interest that happens in your brain by repeating it. Not when you're feeling amazing. Yeah, do it then too. But when you're feeling it the most, when you're feeling least worthy, whatever it is for you, leaning in then and speaking the truth, flooding your brain with the truth. The whole self-care thing, just because it's one of those things that gets thrown around out in the interwebs as like, look, I'm doing my self-care, whatever thing. And it just looks surface. So that word kind of has gotten diluted a little bit. But I want you to imagine this plate, right? So you have a plate. That plate is your community, the people you serve, the people who are your buyers, your clients, etc. And even on that plate are your family and the people you're giving to. All right. And I want to imagine you are a cup, like think about like a plate and a saucer kind of thing, or a saucer and a cup. So you're the cup, right? The cup is facing up. Ideally, the way we were created was that you get poured into from your creator, poured into the cup, and he continues to pour so much into that open cup that what overflows from that full cup is what gets splashed out on your family and your kids and your community. And it works because it's a full cup, fully plugged in from the source, and it's overflowing, and it doesn't stop overflowing. So it's not like your community gets less of you, but you get even more of you and the best of you and the authenticity of you and the truth of you, because it's like that. But what most of us do at some points when we aren't doing the internal work, and I just want to encourage you to do this, is here's the saucer of all of our
different tribes and our people, and we take and we turn the cup upside down because we don't have enough time to take care of us, and we feel it's selfish and all the things, and we turn the cup upside down. We just want to pour out. So see how we're doing that? We're thinking, from my own power, I'm going to pour out everything that I have to my family, to my friends, etc. And we're doing that, but we no longer can receive anything. We're cut off from the source, and it's not only like it stops the flow, and then you end up depleted, and then you end up anxious, and then you end up feeling like, why isn't anybody doing anything for me? And it's like, well, they would if your cup was turned upside down, but they can't. So it is something I have a visual reminder of, because I am the one that will a lot of times grab the cup and turn it upside down and go, I don't get why I'm feeling this way. So I have a visual that I look at. And so it's so important. But I hope this blessed you. I hope this filled your cup. I hope this is not just inspiration that you move away from and say, oh, that was an amazing 2 hours, and then go on. I hope you pause. I hope you take notes. I want you to grab your notes and look and highlight what it was that just is popping out at you from whomever it was, and take action. One of the things that's really important right now, you're hearing this concept of rise, but rise up to the version of yourself that you know you're meant to be. Right? And you're hearing the word pivot. I really want to encourage you to pivot, not into maybe the next business or maybe the next idea, but really more importantly than all that, pivot into the leadership of owning that being that you know you truly are. Like really being that, really embodying that. You've heard it from so many different people in so many different ways. And just the last piece is just start. Whether it's starting your self-care or starting to actually communicate instead of having proximity, or if it's actually starting to just go live. Like if you had this idea floating around in your mind and you said, well, maybe when this thing happens, well, it's happened. So here we are. Just take 2 or 3 steps, just baby steps. They don't need to be like giant, but just moving in action, because the reality is we're all craving confidence, and we're all telling ourselves this lie that when we're confident, then we will do all the things. And there's no way to get to confidence unless it's through action. And so right now, I hope that you take away from this panel that inspired action to step in. So I want to leave like my little segment and, with this thought. One of the things we say in my tribe, my community, just to echo, is that you have a choice. Either lean into the resistance or you'll lean into the pain, right? You lean into the resistance or lean into the pain. So if you're starting to feel resistance and your natural being was to run from that or cover it or even eat it away, or whatever your natural coping mechanism was to make yourself feel better, I would encourage, and your brain will encourage you to if you lean into that resistance, it's actually the biggest gift, the most gorgeous gift that you could ever have. Because in the resistance, guess what happens? Guess what's close to the surface in resistance if you don't run away from it? The subconscious story that's actually governing 80 to 90% of your daily actions and decisions. So if you lean into the uncomfortable in that micro moment and you hear the story and then you lean into doing the work with whoever you're doing the work with, you can actually start to get the transformation without having to get into the pain and have to do it. So lean into the resistance, let it be your best friend. And if you're an entrepreneur, aren't you blessed? Because there it is all the time. You have a constant source of stretching and then resistance and what it brings up and doing the work around it and then up level. And that becomes the fun, the game.
All right, that's a wrap on this week's podcast. And just as last week, I really want to hear, what is it that stood out to you? What do you want to hear more of? What do you need the most? Because I am here 100% to support you to that next biggest vision and version of you. I do believe that for such a time as this, we are called forward to finally get rid of the things that have been holding us back, just like reins on a horse, and tap into the power that's available to you in your brain. Turn that success switch on and really start making progress toward that biggest and best and brightest version of you, that biggest and best and brightest calling that you have and the impact that you're meant to do in this world. that is what I have for you this week. We have continuing, just to remind you, I'm holding a weekly masterclass every single Thursday at noon Pacific. You do need to be registered for it. It is a mindset mastery masterclass. We are breaking down how do we build a success switch in our brain. How do you finally get the reins off of you to go do the thing that you know you were called to do? Clear up unclearness. That's not even a word, but you know what I'm saying? Like overcome the overwhelm to finally be done with the procrastination and perfectionism, all those pieces that you know have been holding you back, and truly turn on that success switch and go make impact. All right, that's what I have for you this week. I will see you next week, where we are going to be kicking off a series all around the brain science of success. I've asked some of the most brilliant doctors and practitioners in supportive brain growth practices, and we're going to be optimizing your brain. We're going to be really talking high performance, all kinds of different ways you can go out. I'm going to put my geek on and really serve you in this way, where we're going to be talking about breath work. We're going to be talking about training synaptic neural networks. We're going to be talking about all kinds of very geeky stuff. So if you like to learn how the brain really is wired, how you can neurohack it, how you can tap into it, all of those things, these next few weeks are going to be very encouraging for you. And as always, I am going to be holding that masterclass every week. So make sure you get registered. The link is below, and I will see you next time on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now.